Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this keynote of the Business App program. Today's topic is very important and interesting for all entrepreneurs, no matter startup or already existing company. Business intelligence provides those important tools and methodologies for all entrepreneurs to watch out, to analyze the surroundings, that what's happening outside of the company. Every entrepreneur has to know his or her own business, but in addition to that also the business of the next fellow. Today we will have a presentation given by Mr. Alhoniemi and Mr. Erkki Innola. Please welcome, the stage is yours.
Okay, yeah, hello, can you hear me clearly? Great.
Are we allowed to stand right there, or should us climb into that podium? if this is okay.
If this is okay, then great.
Then we prefer that. Okay, Esa, please, if you start.
Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. We are always glad to tell our vision and our ideas about what is business intelligence, and I guess that is also reflected in that title we have there. So I'm Esa Alhoniemi, I come from Avoltus as well as my colleague.
Yes, my name is Erkki Innola and I work at the Avoltus in the role of customer director.
Yes, and my role in Avoltus is senior data specialist, so I'm kind of subject guy and engineer here, and Erkki is everything else but me or whatever.
Yes, but Esa is the rocket scientist one.
Okay.
in our firm.
Okay, great. So we'll start with a very brief commercial, or less commercial, but we tell where we are from and what we are made of. So please, Erkki.
Yes, this is my duty, and I will do my best to avoid dull company presentation. But I'm not sure how to get humor or speed or fun with those numbers, because this slide is mostly numbers. Avoltus was founded in 2002. We started at Turku Business Incubator in 2005. We have grown up so that when I started little less than 7 years ago, there were 7 of us. Now we have, I think, 32 employees right now, and also we are growing all the time. So if you are a very good back-end coder or full-stack developer or cloud architect, then we'll have a job for you. But as an entrepreneurs, of course, we are also trying to find different kind of partners. So please don't hesitate to contact me if there is some ideas with you. Mission, vision, and values are there. We are, in a way, one kind of open source company, in a way that when we do, for example, tailor-made programming for the clients, then we will give them to source code. Of course, if we are making some kind of business critical systems to our clients, it's not very reasonable to publish them as open source, because the competitors would love it, but the company itself perhaps wouldn't love that so much. So our idea is that in a very effective, transparent way, we are solving different kind of business problems, and we are solving them via tailor-made software or integration projects. For example, ESP solutions are one kind of integrations that we have several projects going on right now. There are some customers I will not read that to you because I suppose anyone can read that from the table itself, but I would emphasize that we are a growing company, we are a youthful company, we have different kind of persons, but we have one slight problem with our personnel. We don't have any girls in our firm. All they are guys. And that's a shame, but I'm really positive that we will change that soon. But the first lady of our company, we are still expecting her. Several times, 3 times, we have been so close that I really hope that we can over that threshold within just a few months. Okay, but as I have some substance, so I will stop my speech right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I guess that Erkki will be shouting from the crowd every time I say something stupid or too engineerish here, and he will then correct me as usual. Okay.
That's not the whole picture.
Okay, great. First, I'm from the university in my background, so everything starts with the definition. First of all, we are here talking about business intelligence, so it is, well, kind of umbrella term for everything that can be used to dig out something from data, or data becomes actually information before being valuable. But anyway, business intelligence, I see it as a term, just like in this nice definition by Gartner, where they say that it is this set of tools, techniques, methods, whatever that is required to get something out from the data and make it information, make that knowledge, and make that wisdom or whatever. We will see a nice pyramid later on. Okay. Almost every presentation that is about business intelligence or related things is about the telling about something about hype things, and this is also from Gartner, writing the hype curve, where we can see a couple of terms there. There is machine learning and things like that, and they are just now on the top of the curve, which means that there is a lot of hype around and also lots of expectations, many of which will fail, but some of which will become true value for companies. And now it is the time when we can, in a way, deploy all the things that are there and try to distinguish between the rubbish and the true things, I would say. I'm a little bit here critical because this is kind of hype thing. Okay, first about a little bit background. I have 2 figures here. They say the first one is taken from Wikipedia, which says that the digital revolution started around 2002 or so. But anyway, the point here is that all the information has become digital during the last, let's say, 2 decades, and the amount of data is growing exponentially. I have plotted the curve by myself, and you can choose whatever units you want for the horizontal or vertical axis, but in some way the horizontal axis is time and vertical axis is amount of information, and the shape of the curve is exponential. So there is more and more data coming in, and it is in digital form, which means that it is something that you can deploy using computers, and business intelligence means. First, we will have a very brief look what it means. There is a lot of data. So data is just data. It is actually nothing by itself. But it is truly something. It is said that it's the oil of the new digital economy, which means that it is a substance that can be very valuable for some instances, companies, persons who know how to collect it, how to make it, how to squeeze the value out of it, how to combine it, how to fuse different data, and so on and so on. So this is a kind of huge trend, which is most obviously familiar to most of you, I think. So data is a raw material here, and here is a nice figure that I have plotted by myself. So first of all, if you consider the availability of the data, which is in a way on the horizontal axis, there is open data, and then there is freely available data, institutional data, individual data and company data. And what this all means, open data is the one that you have API or you can download a data set from the web. It is something that is prepared for you. You can just pick it up and use it however you want. And it is free and it is easy to get. This freely available data is completely my own, let's say, title here, which means that this is something that you can obtain freely, but you need to work for it. For example, you can browse through web pages, zillions of web pages, and get information from there, but it is not in a form that can be processed. You need to get the data first, collect the data, and process it into a form that is useful, and which is a large amount of work if you want to get a lot of data. Then there is this institutional data, which means that there is always some data that is, for example, given by the government or whatever. That is basically, by the law, it is available and they should give it to you if you request for it, but it is not available in the internet. It becomes open data one day, I guess. So all the public data will go to net, but this institutional data is something that you can get by request or by getting it. It doesn't cost you, but it's also requires some work. Then there are individuals that most companies are interested in. They want to learn what are their customers, what do people like, what they don't like, what they can pay for, some services or whatever. And this is something that is in a way the hot topic today. How you can reach the individuals, how you can get the data from their behavior and summarize it and get different kind of segments of people that act in the same way, and how you market your services to them, for example, so that you can get them to buy your product. This is very, very important group or subset of data. And then there is, of course, company data that is usually not so freely available. Surprise, surprise. So it's kind of internal data, of course, and data on sales and whatever. That is inside the company, and then usually you cannot get it. Of course, there are companies that gather data and sell it. There are different roles for data. But basically, companies usually keep the data, unless they are companies that are there, if their business is to gather and sell data. A couple of examples from here in Finland. And I'm not aware of the situation elsewhere, unfortunately, but at least in Finland, I think that the trend is now that we have a couple of examples here. One web page, which is avoindata.fi, which is a collection of data sets that are freely available in the net. They are in a shape that can be obtained, for example, Excel sheet or whatever. You can just download them and use them freely. You can search them. You can see here that there are more than 1,000 of data sets available today, and the amount of them is of course growing. This is kind of one-shot data that can be used for something. But of course, it is possible that you might be interested in some data that is all the time accumulating, and you would like to get all the data all the time so that you don't need to download data set once and then, but you want to track something. For example, some GPS information of local buses or whatever you could deploy. And for that, there is this API, suomi.fi, which is the collection of open APIs where you can connect to and use the data. And I would say that these are the two different forms of open data that are quite useful. Of course, it's hard to imagine any other form right now, but basically that. Okay, some aspects of the data, if you consider using data in your business. For example, technical aspects. Of course, it requires a lot of work to get data, to collect it. You need a data warehouse. You need some kind of way to extract and transform and load data, ETL, which is now quite popular acronym. But anyway, you need some kind of infrastructure that is able to handle, process, and put in a nice format all the data that you want to have for your business. And this is, of course, an investment, and you need some kind of return for that investment. And it's very important to realize that this is something that you simply can, of course, you cannot always calculate everything exactly, but some kind of estimate what you can get by putting this amount of money for infrastructure, and of course you need specialists and machine learning algorithms or whatever in order to get the information out of data. Then the other data aspect is protection, which means that today data is in the cloud, usually, in most cases at least, not all data, but let's say the majority of the data is going there anyway. And there are two things actually. There is security, so is it secure to have it there? And the bottom line is that you need to trust that partner that you have, that is your cloud provider. So basically you don't have any way to be sure who has access to that data, or is everything done there somewhere in the world. You can only know, for example, the continent. You don't know where this data warehouse is located geographically at all. So you have to trust. You have to trust that they have put it in the right place, they have good protection, and they don't allow access to your, let's say, competitors or whatever to that data. Then there are legal issues. Who owns the data actually, and what is the thing that is allowed to do with the data? This is not always so clear what you can do with. If you collect data from individual people, this is very, let's say, sensitive area. Okay, then this pyramid and how do I say, how we can go from the raw data upwards. So the bottom line here is the data, which is numbers, something inside the computer without any meaning. Information is something more than data. It is kind of what the thing that the data essentially contains. Knowledge is something even more, and wisdom is even more than that. So wisdom is the capability to use the knowledge that was obtained from the data.
Okay, and with this phase, we will go on with that pyramid just few seconds later. But I would like to emphasize one thing. When you are entrepreneurs, when you are making your own businesses, it is essential that, for example, one-person company, there is quite logical that even the data itself is located between your ears. Of course, information and knowledge and wisdom are also included in one's brain. But when the company grows, then the necessity of sharing data, sharing information, sharing knowledge, even sharing wisdom is essential. So it's very important to understand that at the first phase, with one entrepreneur, things are quite easy. Business intelligence, for example, is not needed in a way that one knows. I know customers, I know people, I know potential partners. Yes?
When you talk about business intelligence, do you actually talk about like in a company like the enterprise architecture or something? Or is this like something else?
When we are talking about business intelligence itself, I would say that this is how to gather data considering your business and business opportunities. Customer data is, I think, the most clear example of the data that is saved into different kind of business intelligence systems. But we chose to talk about data instead of purely just different kind of business intelligence systems, and that's. But I took that example because the idea is that mostly people who are running their own enterprises, of course, there are several phases. The first phase is that someone has an idea, and then idea is located, and all this knowledge, all this wisdom is located in one person's brain. But when you have have to start sharing that data, information, knowledge, or wisdom, then it's a different situation. And then different kind of knowledge sharing processes are needed. And I would say that business intelligence systems are about to share that knowledge and wisdom, mostly based on customer data, but also products and competition and this kind of stuff. But briefly still, the idea, as Esa mentioned, data is text or numbers or something like that, raw material. Then information is some kind of message which is based to that data. Then information makes some kind of meaning into data. Knowledge is something richer than information. I would say that knowledge is something that if I do this, then this will happen. Knowledge is something about what happens if. What if?
Yes, kind of causality.
Yes, kind of causality, indeed. Yes. And then there is all, at least in Finland, saying that wisdom is something that you know how to, or intelligence is something that how can you cope with a situation that you won't face if you have adequate wisdom. So the idea is that wisdom is then something with more specific experience about those causalities that is meaning to knowledge. But my own research is mostly based on the knowledge sharing, so I could talk about this about 3 or 4 hours. So I really have to stop right now and get our engineer to continue.
Okay, our engineer will tell you a very simple toy example on this. So if we consider data, for example, this is very used example in many places, and you may have heard it before. So I'm just going through one thing that I've heard for many times. So if you have data, for example, you have number of drownings during the summer, and you have ice cream sales during the summer. This is data, you know the numbers. Then you can calculate the correlation between these two, and you can see that, okay, these two correlate, and the information there is that increasing ice cream sales increases drowning deaths, for example. This is something that you can deduce from the data. This is information. This is extracted from that data. But if you add third variable, which is the actual latent variable behind all that, which is actually the temperature during the summer, you can see that there is a correlation between the temperature and the ice cream sales and the temperature and the number of drownings. And you can see that there is a kind of pattern. By analyzing all these different correlations, you finally end up into a knowledge that you learn. Okay, this is a toy example. You learn that everything comes from the temperature, and the eating of ice cream doesn't kill anyone. Okay, that is kind of knowledge that you can gain here, and the wisdom, of course, would be using that knowledge so that you can, when it's hot in the summer, you put people, those Baywatch guards in the beaches, and which are inspecting people that prevent them from drowning and so on. But basically, this is kind of very bad example in that case. But anyway, to get some kind of idea of that for you, what is the difference between data, information, and knowledge. Okay, who has not seen this slide yet?
Or should we ask who hasn't seen that quote today at LinkedIn? At least I have seen it. So the idea here is that these kind of quotes, they are very useful, but they are also splendid raw material in the bullshit bingos. Yes.
Okay. So basically, the idea for this slide came from the fact that many people today talk about big data. What is big data? And this is kind of nice. How would I say? Way to putting it in different context. So basically, many companies think they have big data. Many people think they are doing big data research or using big data in their work or so on. So basically, it is something that which is very, let's say, trendy to do big data things. But basically, most of the analytics that is done with the data is not big data at all, because big data is something that requires much more than just relational database and one desktop software that is used for analyzing that data, whatever. What is big data? It is actually something else. Here's some kind of illustration on the data that one company may have available for usage. First of all, the core of that data is, of course, the operational things within the company, which is ERP and a CRM, which are used in most companies, I would say. But in addition to that, they contain a lot of information, but it is not big data. It is just data that is usually in some relational database and so on. Even though the company would be quite big, I would say that the CRM is not so huge in data size. But when you add web here, you have this. Now I have to have a quick look here because, okay, basically, web makes it possible to use analytics so that you can track your customers there. You can do dynamic pricing for your customers based on things what you have seen most probably when you are reserving a hotel or flight or whatever from the same IP address. You are looking at the price of some flight or some hotel from the same IP address before making the purchase. You see that, okay, it can change because there is an automated system that is making predictions that you are about to buy it, so it will raise the price all the time. So they want to get you to panic in order to buy that. They said, oh, only one room left. This is the last place in the plane. Get it now. And more price comes up. And this is something that can be, of course, done automatically using the web pages. And this is a huge amount of information if you consider some big company that has some kind of web purchasing system, which most companies today have, for example, in aviation or hotels. Okay, but even though this data is quite large, I wouldn't say that it is big data. The big data is something that if you put everything else after that, you have all the possible audio, video, different signals for different measurement devices. You have so much data that you simply cannot put it anywhere in a structured form, but you need to do things on the fly so that you deduce something from the data. The data passes on and you just pick up some glimpses from the data and you can update, let's say, your computational models on the fly, but you cannot store the data anywhere. And data is typically heterogeneous, which means that it is not in a structured form, but you need to do something for the data in order to make it usable and do it very quickly before the data passes by.
Okay, so I would have one question.
Okay.
Because of timetable, we should proceed into visualization of data and this kind of to approach a little bit more that business intelligence we are also talking about here. I have one question for you, and it is when we are taking a look this big data structure of yours, when we are talking about web and we are talking about big data.
Okay.
What kind of data, as an examples here, are in what level data are included into different kind of business intelligence applications or those processes that companies do when they are exploiting business intelligence kind of data?
Okay. Well, could have been shorter question. Okay, hope that I understood.
The question is that which elements of the data are included into business intelligence system,
yes,
or exploited when we are talking about business intelligence,
yes,
in general?
Yeah, quite often, of course, you can say that everything, but in a very narrow meaning, I would say that the business intelligence is those two innermost things, ERP and CRM. CRM, and they are in many cases they are told that they are the data that is used for inference for business intelligence. But I would say that this web data is something that is getting closer and closer also to that. But this data that is in a way inside the company is the most widely used data for those business intelligence applications I know, I would say, in some way.
Okay, I have to add a little bit. I don't in general disagree with that, but still the idea is that when we are talking about ERP or CRM data, then in a way that if we are taking a look at that data, we are in a way looking into a rear mirror. Mm-hmm. And I would say that when we are exploiting data, when we are making calculations, when we are making different kind of predictive models, mm-hmm. Is that data enough for that? Because yep, okay. I related that into living in the past, as Cicero would say.
Yeah, true. Okay, thank you for clarification. So basically, this is something that you can of course use for predicting things, but basically you cannot predict much based on them. If you want to do real predictions, you need to have that all. Based on, of course, everything depends on your business. If your business is such that this big data or some elements of big data are available, you need to have it all. So basically you need to have all the information that is somehow available for making good predictions. Yep. Okay, then about the data in action. First of all, some ideas here where we can go with the data. So on the horizontal axis, there is something that you can do. Basically, this is just stolen from somewhere, but here we can see that there are different levels that we can do. First thing that we can always do when we have data, we can report things, we can summarize and then give something that is under the line and so on, of course. Then we can make nice dashboards, which is the same thing, but we visualize them. So key performance indicators and so on. We just make nice gears and show them that, okay, we are on the red and on the green and so on. But basically, dashboards is nothing else but that. Then we can explore the data. We can try to learn. We visualize the data and try to learn in a, let's say, using the pattern recognition system of the human to learn something from the data. We find irregularities or patterns or whatever in the data that we can exploit. But basically we are not doing anything else but seeing data in multiple ways in order to learn from the data. But this is done by humans. And the next step here is to go beyond that, which means that we try to do predictions. We will try to actually tell that what is going to happen. And this is the big step to be taken. If you are talking about business intelligence or intelligence or inference of some phenomenon or phenomena, this is the step where you can distinguish between looking in the back mirror, as Erkki said, and looking forward, which is the most valuable thing that you can do. What will happen or what is about to happen in your business, and there you can go further and further, of course, by deploying this.
We still have about 5 minutes, but okay. I really have to add something still. The interesting idea is that when we, with the last slide, we were talking about the richness of data.
Yeah.
Now we are talking about that data, information, knowledge, wisdom distinction, right, with this picture. As you can see, what happened is information, why did it happen and what could happen next. Important difference between richness of data, but still the idea is that this is the knowledge part of the pyramid. And then what is the best that could happen? Answer to that question is wisdom.
Yeah. True. Oops, now I made something more black. A very quick view on visualization. What are the elements of successful visualization? It is not just picking up some numbers and making a graph out of it. If you want to do something that is in a way useful, but you have this information in your data, you have some kind of goal, what you want to achieve, then you need to choose the visual form for your presentation, and usually you also have some kind of story. If you want to convince some person about something, you want to convince some audience about something, you usually need to have some kind of story, and they are today talking about storytelling using data, which means much more than just plotting one graph using the data. You take all these different aspects into account. So basically this is visualization and its elements, and we already talked about this reporting versus predictive analytics, and here it is in a nutshell. Reporting is nothing else but telling what has happened, and predictive analytics is about what will happen. It will predict or it will classify something. And that's basically it. And unfortunately, business intelligence as a term I would say it is a kind of corrupted in a way that it is seen as a synonym for making nice visualizations. Business intelligence tools, I would say that 90 or at least 80% of those tools are nothing else but visualization tools that cannot infer anything from the data, but they can show it, of course, to you in a usable form. Okay, so to summarize, to take the data and take different kind of methods that you can apply with the data, you can do many things. You can do personalized marketing, surveillance, condition monitoring, quality control, optimization, fraud detection, anything. So there is a huge amount of different things that you can do with the data, but on the other hand, there is a huge amount of different things that you are needed in order to achieve that. Here's a very quick example of that I stole also from somewhere, kind of what companies do with their data. And here are some aspects that I'd like to point out. First of all, the data quality is something that is very important. There are errors in the data, and a lot of the value of the data is lost due to the bad quality of the data. So here it is said that in this case, 75% of companies waste an average of 14% of revenue due to bad data quality. Of course, these are just numbers for some cases, but anyway, bad data quality is really a problem. It has been and it will be in the future. And here are also some other readings, but the main things here is that what you can achieve in the last row. What are the main outputs businesses want from their data machine? They want to increase efficiency, in 62% in this case, better customer satisfaction, which means personalized marketing. You need to know your customers and you give them exactly the thing that they want. They save costs and they get more opportunities because they can profile their customers. But there are many pitfalls in between, which are mostly related to quality of the data and ways to process the data properly. And in another way, also almost the same figure, that you want to squeeze out from making things using data. You want to get that additional profits, you can see there, by making smart things using the data during your supply chain from suppliers to customers. You do different kind of things like fraud detection, whatever. Here we have reduce customer churn, which is a big problem for mobile operators, for example, and things like that. So basically, for fraud detection, you prevent things like, for example, credit card companies. They want to prevent or they are all the time making surveillance of their card holders accounts and so on. So finally, we have exceeded our time a little bit, but still to conclude something. So you most probably want to know what skills are required in order to be able to do business intelligence things. So here is some kind of illustration or a listing. So this is a kind of list of properties that is required today for some person to be a skillful data scientist. You can see that there's math and statistics, of course, which is required, but it's only one aspect in here. There are three others. You need to be able to program, and you need to be able to know the databases. So you need to know how to manipulate the data and how to store data and how to do things in there. You need to know about what you do, about the domain. So you don't live in a vacuum, but there are some laws, some business rules, some things that always affect the things that you do, and you need to be aware of those unless you do something very, very simple. Then you need to be able to communicate and visualize. So you need to be able to tell what you have done or found in the data or whatever. And these four things, I would say that this is a very, very good, in a way, summarization of things that you need to know. You need to know many things actually, and this is not very easy job today to do. This math and statistics is only one of the four key points here.
Okay, and with I'm not very keen to have last words here, but one important issue is that if you want to use a business intelligence system, you don't need those all four skills. Of course, you should have some kind of understanding about them. But when you are talking about with someone or some company to implement that kind of system, then all those skills are needed. And it's in that situation, it's your task to ensure that all those skills are included with the partner you are choosing.
Yeah. So you need to be able to buy those things unless you have them by yourself. And here's a very quick last word. This is kind of job ad for, as you can see, for Netflix. So what is required here? They want a PhD in computer science. Okay, great. And all the things actually that were listed there. They want people be open, social, skillful in many ways. So kind of narrow knowledge about things, if you want to become a data Jedi, is not enough anymore. But you need to be able to do things with data, computer, people, and many other things as well.
And so many times I asked Esa not to include his CV into this presentation, but he did.
Okay, that's about it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Esa and Erkki, for your presentations. Any questions, comments from the audience at this point? You want to?
Okay.
Have the mic, Anas.
I have a quick one.
Okay.
You talked about data. You showed a lot of data, graphs and big data, small data, but data. Everyone sitting here is a startup, 90%. I'm not sure if everyone is not, but most of us are startup who don't have a company.
Okay.
And I'm actually trying to figure out that what you talked about is a big scale company that they can analyze the data or they can put the data in a CRM to use business analytics to find graphs and all those. We're just trying to see how this business intelligence or data gathering helps a startup. We don't even have a one-person company.
How you can start? You can start with Excel.
Yeah, Excel, exactly. How does this help us to establish or grow or develop the business?
This data.
Which we don't have.
Of course, which you don't have. So you want to build a data-centric company, or are you having a company that does something else and data is just, let's say, side thing, or is data in the center of your company?
No, as I understood, you said data is essential for every company.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we are data-centric or if we are doing some other kind of service.
Of course.
I mean, I understand you're talking about market research, yes.
Yeah.
But how is this big data going to help us develop the business, which is just an idea right now?
Okay, but basically it all depends what you do, I would say. If you let's say, if you do some let's say app, you want to sell it on the web. You put it in some place, you have some kind of shop for that, you do some kind of analytics there, you put Google Analytics there, you import your data, you follow the number of customers that you go there, you develop your web pages, for examples, then you follow the number of downloads of your software, where do those people come from that you buy your software. This is just a simple example of that. And then you tune your web pages so that you add more languages if you see that people come from different countries to buy your software, and you get feedback from them, let's say some ideas how to develop your app and so on, and you analyze them, and you do some kind of analysis of that. Just a simple example.
There are several examples of that. I also emphasized earlier that when you have one-person company, of course, then, for example, customer data and also that different kind of knowledge and perhaps even wisdom, which is included into the company, is located mostly between your ears. But Esa had a good examples, that kind of technical issues that really are needed to handle even if you have one-person company. If you have that kind of product, if you need that kind of customer data or product using data. So I think our goal is to emphasize that the data issues, big data or business intelligence, in which data is included in several ways, these are key issues for every companies that exist. Small ones, but of course also big ones. And our idea here is that we are not going to sell anything here. We are not going to sell you any kind of business intelligence systems or even as data analytics services. But the idea is that to understand that the data is the key, not the different kind of business intelligence system, could be summarized as our core message here.
Yeah. You can always get data that you can learn from and benefit from. But of course, when you have one person company, it is very small amount of data. But this is something that I would say that should be taken into account, that store all the data that you generate on the run, even though there is only one person company.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Previous slide, yeah.
The only thing missing from here is that your age should be only 25 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, but this is not anymore Esa's issue, so well, this is his CV, so it's not included there.
Okay, now we have a question from Latvia.
Okay.
And what is the difference between business intelligence and business analytics? And what are most common business intelligence software or apps?
Ooh.
Well, I think this is a challenging one. Could you, Esa, start with that first part, the difference between business analytics and business intelligence?
Okay, if you try to find the definition for those in the in the web, for example, you cannot, I would say. This is in a way, all these terms are in one way or another corrupted because they are used in different contexts in different ways. So I would say that they are almost identical, or I would say that they are identical. So basically you have in both cases you have some data and you are doing some analytics. Okay, maybe the analytics is the thing that you do with the data, and intelligence is that what you gain from the data.
I would personally also relate that business intelligence into different kind of what-if questions and also kind of predictive analysis. But this is my own idea, so I can't state that as any kind of truth.
Yeah, and about those tools, then there were also a question about that. Those let's say two big companies that advertise them as business intelligence tool companies, I would say our two products are Tableau and ClickView, which are both very good visualization tools. But as far as I know, they are just visualization tools. So you cannot predict anything using them, but you can use them to visualize data. You can connect them to, for example, R, which is open software product for making predictions, and you can get data from R to visualize that, also that prediction. But usually, I would say that in many cases, business intelligence software is same as nice visualization software, unfortunately, even today. Of course, there are many products that you can find if you Google for that in the web.
The bigger the supplier of business intelligence tool is, then perhaps it's a little bit more than just a visualization. But still, I would agree totally with Esa that when we are talking about business intelligence, in perhaps 80% of cases, we are in fact talking about visualization.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.